Okay, so I thought I'd make a update video about the mangroves. Here we have one, and here we have the other. And I used to have I had four containers. I had two of these white mangroves, then I had this red mangrove, and then a smaller container with three red mangrove propagules in it. I couldn't bring them all back home. So I kind of just packed up what fit in my car, and I picked the two best ones. So I picked this one and that one. I had to keep it inside my house for a little bit. I actually took them into my apartment before I graduated. So they were in that apartment for a little bit. I couldn't keep them outside because it was too cold. And then I kind of didn't have the room anyways. So this one actually got defoliated, almost entirely defoliated. The only growth that remained was stuff at the very tips of the branches. But now it's doing pretty good. It's still kind of sparse on the inside. There's really long branches with no foliage on them except for the tip. But that's alright, because I mean, we're not really trying to do a bonsai style or anything. We just want to have mangroves growing. And I do want these to get larger, but the only problem is if we start losing foliage on the inside, is that the branches get really elongated, and when all the foliage is on the very end of it, it starts weighing it down, and you kind of have these long branches falling over, and it looks kind of stupid. So I try and grow this as sensibly as I sort of can. So it's out in full sunlight, and what the full sunlight does is it makes shorter internodes, so we won't have these long branches with no foliage on them. All the leaves will be growing really compact together. And also, we fertilize the hell out of these. Mangroves are hungry plants, so they eat a lot. Need a lot of nutrients in their soil pretty much year-round. I try and sort of use the bare minimum in the winter time because there's not as much sunlight. So if we fertilize it too much in the winter time, we get those really long internode lengths, and the branches get really elongated, and there's not a lot of leaves on them, and it looks dumb. So I haven't figured out the exact amount yet, but we fertilize it, just to get it by in the winter time. But now in the summertime that it's in full sun, and it's nice and warm outside, and I can spray these with the hose every day. That's what I do. When I come out here to water my plants in the morning, these always get water all over the leaves. And they're sitting in this tub, which has 20-20-20 fertilizer in it, liquid soluble. The water's blue. Well, now it's kind of green because algae started growing in it. I don't think it's a crazy amount of fertilizer because there's little mosquito larvae swimming around. If it didn't kill them, I probably don't think it's going to kill the trees. But I have not seen any kind of root burn on a mangrove yet, so I fertilize the hell out of them. In addition to that 20-20-20 that they're soaking in, I also have Osmocote pellets on top of the soil, and then also what I do is I put bone meal and blood meal in the soil. So these are fertilized pretty heavily. This was defoliated almost completely. Now it's filled out again. I try and sort of boost the amount of nitrogen because I want a lot of foliage growth. I want these to get maybe twice as big. So we have sort of as much fertilizer as I can sort of reasonably use. But they're looking better. Like I said, this one has way more leaves than it had 2 months ago because it pretty much had no leaves. This one didn't lose any leaves, but they were really just kind of nasty looking. They were very light green. You could see the veins in them. Now that it's in full sun, it's got this dark green color again, and I fertilized it, just to sort of help that along, to fill out these leaves with some more chlorophyll. And then also I want this to grow maybe twice or 3 times the size. we might put in a bigger container. For the amount of leaves this has, this is kind of too small. I mean, if with the amount of fertilizer we use, it shouldn't really be any sort of problem. But I just sort of feel like putting it in a larger pot anyways, because I feel like that'll just help it grow even larger, pretty much the size I want it. Just like 2 or 3 times. I just kind of want a nice plant, sort of larger but still not too large, so I can carry it inside and outside. So I'll probably repot this maybe later on in the summer. Also, I'm going to Florida in 3 or 4 weeks, I think. I actually don't know what day it is today, so I don't know when we're going, but it's in July, later on in July. It's mainly a snail collection trip, and I thought of making a video about that, but I felt like, you know, what am I going to say, because I don't have any examples of the snails I'm going to collect. There's pretty much Caracolus marginella, 2 species of Orthalicus, maybe some Drymaeus, Chondropoma, Helocina. I'm probably forgetting something. But they're all legal. Oh yeah, Bulimulus. Those are cool. Probably something else, but they're legal land snails, and I haven't really made a lot of videos about this because I'd like to have these snails and say, oh, you know, these are examples of some legal snails you can keep inside the U.S. So, I mean, I'm going to collect a lot. I'll probably put them on eBay, sell them on that Facebook group too, probably on the Pet Snail forum as well. So it's mainly a snail collection trip, but there's plants there too that I want to collect. So one day I'm going to have to go and sort of pick up a couple more mangroves. I want to sort of fill up the front half of this pond with just all new mangrove seedlings. And maybe we'll pick up another cycad or something if we can find one. So that's pretty much it. I guess I'll come back in late August or something. Yeah, probably late August, just so we can see how much these mangroves managed to grow over the summer. And I'll do an update on those seedlings that I hopefully will collect. So yeah, I'll probably come back and just sort of show what's been going on after growing season outside in full sun. I thought I'd mention I've transitioned these to growing in fresh water, other than all the fertilizer I dumped in. But you know, I don't add that aquarium salt anymore. Not really, maybe just a little bit here and there. I actually wonder if it would kill these mosquitoes. That's kind of what I've been doing it for. Just, you know, oh, there's some pest problem. I'm going to toss some salt on them and see what happens. I remember, I think it was a couple of years ago, and I still had like the young propagules that I was just starting to grow, and they had no leaves on them. I had them in a little aquarium, and I said salt water, fresh water, they kind of can transition to both, it doesn't really matter. And somebody started arguing with me in the comments, and they said, oh, you know, mangroves have to have salt water because that's their natural habitat, and they've adapted to it, and they have to have salt water. And so I kind of went off that, and I was like, yeah, he's probably right. And I mean, of course, they grow in salt water, it's not going to hurt them. So I was growing them in salt water pretty much since I got these, which was, I actually don't know when I got these. Was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago? But I've had them for, you know, a couple of years. I was growing them in salt water that whole time, but I know somebody who had mangroves for, I think it may have been a little over a decade, and they just grow them in fresh water, and they pretty much looked as good as mine. So I was like, well, I mean, they're growing in fresh water for 10 years, and they're not dying. They don't have any salt deficiency or something. So what I did is I transitioned these to fresh water. I toss in salt a little bit, you know, every now and then, but it's not even enough to make it brackish water. So I think that's what we're going to do from now on. Grow them in fresh water, and if there's, you know, some disease outbreak, or, you know, all their leaves start turning yellow or something, then maybe I'll say, oh, well, you know, maybe it's time to, you know, put back in salt water. But I don't expect that to happen. Like I said, those mangroves I saw, they were growing in fresh water for over a decade, and they were doing fine. So we're going to grow these in fresh water, and they should be fine. And then, like I said, I'll come back at the end of summer, late August, and do an update to show how much they've grown since this video.